Hello, audience. It's the controversial quotes, and today we are going to have a discussion about Tom Cruise, Taylor Swift, and Donald Trump. Now, Tom Cruise is in the news for. Let me put some light on. I gotta get some more light in here. It's not. All right, so now you can see me better. Sorry about that. Yeah, the lighting is better now. Yeah, that's an AI picture of Donald Trump from Grok. I put him in the steelworker uniform because he just put like a 50% tariff on steel. I think that's completely ridiculous. In fact, I recently at my job worked with a lot of metal. I was on like a remodifications team in retail. I was jamming in like these steel or aluminum shelves, whatever. I'm not sure what type of metal we were. And it distresses me greatly to think that the price of metal is going to go up a lot. I mean, I'm not sure by what factor the price is going to go up, but Donald Trump did say that he wanted to make the cost of metal go up to the point where foreign distributors could no longer ship to America. I mean, Trump doesn't believe that uh, Trump believes that the entire United States must bail out the Pennsylvania steel industry, and I don't know why we have to. I heard one statistic. I'm not sure if this is entirely correct. There's one statistics that says that for every uh, one worker that works, no, it's like for every 80 workers that work in the steel industry, 120 work with steel, creating things like tractors. So, yes, I mean, the economics state that Trump might stimulate a steel revival, but the steel revival that you're going to see in Pittsburgh and Indiana will come at the expense of other industries. Like, I mean, companies like John Deere are not going to build as many tractors. Louisville Slugger isn't going to build as many metal baseball bats because we're going to have to pay an enormous amount of money for aluminum. The cost of groceries is going to go up. Yeah, this can is made out of aluminum. I usually pay $1.20 for this. It's now going to cost like $1.50 to produce a, a caffeine bomb, my energy drinks, as I call them. So Trump is doing himself in. Trump's actions regarding Ukraine have been utterly disgraceful. Today Putin launched a volley of rockets into Kyiv. The entire city of Kyiv. In Kyiv, there are apartment buildings set ablaze all over. Presumably, these apartment buildings were filled with people who were murdered by a Russian tyrant. I don't understand why Trump believes that cowering before Russia is an endearing quality, except for the fact that he's a KGB asset. I mean, he should be removed from office for betraying Ukraine. Ben Shapiro did a video with Volodymyr Zelensky. He explained why we need to keep sending Ukraine weapons. And I've been pounding the table on this issue because I'm an anti-communist. I want the communists out of Europe. I don't support that. But Trump is a coward. Trump is not willing to spend any money defending Western civilization against the barbarians of the East. He's a false patriot. I mean, that's what I don't like about Trump. I'm going to talk about about the contentious ICE raids in LA. I mean, the ICE agents are presumably rounding up people who overstayed their visa and expelling them. Uh, I mean, other countries do this. I mean, in Canada, you're not allowed to overstay your visa. I know. My I have a family friend who lives in Canada. She's only allowed, she has a house up in Canada. She's a little bit richer than I am, but she can't stay in Canada for as long as she wants because she's not a citizen of Canada. I mean, people who overstayed their visa are committing a crime. Um, and what we're seeing is that the counter protests are descending into despicable violence against law enforcement. I understand that the ICE raids are not going to be popular in Los Angeles, but however, as with the George Floyd riots, and this is where I'm a conservative, there's no excuse for assaulting police officers who are doing their job, especially since the job they're doing is ethical. There's no reason why, Mexico should be able to ship fentanyl across the border. The fentanyl that Mexico sends across the border kills hundreds of thousands of. It kills like 100,000 Americans every year because of overdoses. LA has become a mecca of fake medical marijuana treatments. There's no reason why medical marijuana needs to be prescribed because it doesn't have any medical value. Um, I think that's why people in the major cities lose their tempers at the drop of a hat. Yeah, I think they spend more money on marijuana than they spend on rent, and they're all going to get kicked out of their houses. I mean, their low-income housing programs always fail. There should be no rent control. Um, and that's like an area where I'm a conservative. But however, I don't consider Trump to be a conservative. I think he's a KGB asset who he is doing his best to help Russia gain a foothold in Europe, which must be stopped through whatever means necessary. Europe has to rearm. I mean, it's clear that Europe has to stop being a welfare state and produce weapons that can compete against Russia and China. China is helping Russia at an increasing pace. China is supplying Russia with drones. That's something where I agree with Trump on. Trump opposes China, but Trump isn't smart enough to realize that you have to defeat China in Ukraine. His policies make no sense. They're illogical. I mean, I don't know what someone like Trump would do if when Russia invades Taiwan. No, when China invades Taiwan. My bad. Yeah, I think China is going to invade Taiwan, and supposedly when they do, the Russians will help. You're gonna. Yeah, China probably can't do it on their own. I mean, but why is Trump surrendering Ukraine to Russia, China, and North Korea? Plus some some unfortunate conscripts that the Russians gather from the third world. I've seen videos on X of foreign soldiers fighting from Russia that come from Africa and Egypt. It's obvious that the Russians run a massive human trafficking operation and are flooding Ukraine with paupers from all over the world. What they do is that they incentivize them to fight by paying them like $50,000 a year, and but they don't tell them that they're probably going to die. That the odds of foreign fighters entering Ukraine on behalf of Russia and living to tell about it are very small. That's another reason why we need to support the Ukrainians, against the Russians, because it's clear to me that Ukraine is a bridgehead into Europe for parts of the world that are not free. Um, yeah, so I think Trump has a disgraceful foreign policy, but I do like the fact that he's sending in, you know, the military to, enforce immigration raids that are in fact legal. The residents of Los Angeles have to learn that if you throw, rocks, at cops, you go to jail. I mean, those people who were setting cars on fire must go to jail for a very long time. They're committing hate crimes. And I mean, there are lots of Ukrainians living in America that spent their time in the military. Ukrainians sent soldiers. America should care about Ukraine because Ukraine sent soldiers to fight in Afghanistan for us. We owe Ukraine a lot. Ukraine unfortunately gave up their nuclear weapons. Um, and Ukraine had like 60 atomic bombs, but unfortunately, Ukraine gave them up in order to make peace with Russia, and look where that got them. Um, we should give them nuclear weapons back at this point. I mean, Russia has to be taught the lesson that it's not possible to conquer Europe by destroying apartment complexes. Yeah, I don't believe that a nuclear war would be as catastrophic as everybody says it would be. It doesn't seem to me like it would destroy the atmosphere. And if Europe has to use nuclear weapons to deter, Russia from invading one country at a time, then so be it. As far as I'm concerned, I think that would be just fine. All right. And Trump had a huge blow up with Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk does a lot of drugs. I don't think Trump approves of the type of drugs that Elon Musk used. I mean, there's one picture of Elon Musk in the Oval Office with black eyes. He had, I'm not sure what type of drug causes you to get black eyes, but it's obvious that Elon Musk is a nut. He's a very smart man, but he is a little bit weird. The rainbow people hate him because he disowned his trans daughter. His son became a woman, and Musk stated that he lost his child to the woke mind virus. That's a that's a term Musk used to describe transgenderism. So now a lot of people hate Tesla, and it's hard. It's much harder for Musk to sell Teslas now than it used to be. And I would say that Elon Musk made his criticism of the transgendered community might have been too extreme. Although I don't believe that transgendered people should participate in women's sports. I.e., I don't believe that men who become women, belong in the WNBA. I think that's crazy. A lot of times with political issues, you have to walk a tightrope, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. I mean, I don't have a problem with people going through gender transformations. People are entitled to dress however they want. I don't think that men should use the women's bathroom, for example, especially in high schools. It is known that a lot of women report sexual harassment from men using. Thoughts on the situation in Gaza? I think it's tragic. I'm not a big commentator on the Israeli Palestinian conflict. If you look at my channels, both this and Drone Thrust, you're going to find that I do not talk about the situation between Israel and Palestine. I would hope that a peace process can occur. I think that the answer for Israel and Palestine is for both sides to make friends. I think that Iran makes the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians much worse through paying their proxies to launch barbaric attacks against Israel. I mean, Hamas should not have done what they did on October 7th. I, but beyond that, I'm just not sure about my how I feel about that issue. I'm just not a professional commentator there. I think a lot of the commentators have an agenda that's skewered. Either they're either too Palestinian or too pro-Israeli, um, and I'm not sure about that. But I hope that a peace process comes about soon. Um, so what other news is there with Tom Cruise? All right, let's talk Tom Cruise. I got a lot. I do a lot of Scientology rebuttals on my channels. um, Tom Cruise had a big movie come out recently. I didn't see it. I might I think I'm gonna give away some spoilers in it. So if you haven't seen Mission Impossible, you know, I'm gonna discuss what I've seen of the plot and explain why I didn't see it. So in the final reckoning, Tom Cruise faces off against a computer program called the Entity that wants to destroy the world by igniting a nuclear war, supposedly. It has a lot of great special effects. My problem with the plot is that it sounds very similar to the Terminator and Skynet. I would suggest that if you want to see a movie about a killer computer program, look at Terminator 1 and 2. Um, to me, Mission Impossible is supposed to be a spy franchise. Tom Cruise turned it into, it seems to me like Tom Cruise just turned it into a stunt showcase. It seems like I haven't, I'll go see the Final Reckoning, but I don't have any desire to see it because it doesn't look like a true spy movie. But during interviews for the Final Reckoning, Cruise said nothing about Scientology. Scientology has come under unprecedented criticism on the internet from people like me and Aaron Smith Levin. Um, the criticism of Scientology is an internet phenomena that surprises me. I've done some anti-Scientology videos on my other channel, Drone Thrust. I have a TikTok account called Scientomogy, Scientomogy. On that TikTok, I have an archive of silly things that Scientologists have said over the years. It's meant to make a mockery of Scientology and expose it. Um, Tom Cruise used to talk about Scientology a lot. Now he doesn't talk about it anymore during interviews. Um, and I think that reporters have an obligation to ask him difficult questions. It annoys me that Tom is getting away with being evasive. Um, on Aaron Smith Levin's channel, he showcased another YouTube account that went into a Scientology headquarters with a hidden camera. I don't think I support that activity. I don't believe that it's nice to infiltrate a religious organization with hidden cameras and then post pictures on YouTube. I think that that's a little bit tasteless. But I saw that video, and yeah, their Scientology orgs are packed with people who disseminate L. Ron Hubbard's nonsense. If you go to a Scientology org, there's some type of there's a personality test that they give you, and what they try to do is get you to purchase auditing sessions. Scientology front groups that are around that you should be aware of are CCHR, Citizens Commission on Human Rights, Applied Scholastics Study Technology, Narconon, Criminon, and The Way to Happiness. They're all trying to use charitable activities and anti-psychiatric propaganda in order to scare people into joining Scientology by telling them that there's a worldwide psychiatric conspiracy. You know, Scientology gives off a lot of misinformation, and yeah, Tom Cruise, he doesn't want to talk about it, and I'm being civil. I'm not saying that Tom Cruise has to answer questions about his personal life. I'm asking him to explain why he thinks CCHR is a good organization. For me, CCHR propagates too much medical misinformation and deserves to be excoriated. All right, so what's the news with Taylor Swift? Actually, with Taylor Swift, there's a lot of news. She recently reclaimed the rights to her masters. She released a bunch of cell phone pictures of herself at a wedding in Texas. I'm trying to find more, but she's been in hiding for a long time. Based on the wedding pictures that are commonly available of her on the internet with Travis Kelce, it seems like she's trying to say that she's with Travis Kelce and happily in love. Perhaps there's an insinuation that they're going to get married soon. She might be trying to make us wonder if they're engaged. I'm not big on speculating on people's private life, but good for her. She's happy. But the funny thing is, it's like I did a Grok AI search for all of Taylor Swift's political statements, and Taylor does not get along with Trump at all. Donald Trump said that he hates her, and then he said that she wasn't hot anymore. Supposedly, that made Travis Kelce furious, but Kelce hasn't publicly commented on Trump. The Grok AI program stated that Taylor Swift was furious when Trump went on Twitter and said, "When the looting starts, the shooting. When the looting starts, the shooting stops." I'm confusing it, but yeah, Taylor Swift did not like Trump threatening the George Floyd. Taylor Swift, sorry, didn't like Trump threatening the George Floyd rampagers. Taylor Swift went through extreme lengths to protect her intellectual property, but when Trump suggested that people use violence to defend their properties, against incineration by people who are angry over the killing of George Floyd, Taylor Swift felt the need to go on Twitter and criticize Trump for this. I mean, Taylor also did a video that showed a cop hitting a George Floyd protester and knocking him over. Taylor Swift did not show any videos of all of the destruction that was being inflicted by the George Floyd rampagers on society. I think that Taylor Swift has political views that are pretty extreme left. She opposed the Iraq War. If you look at Miss Americana, you're going to see that Taylor Swift said that she endorsed the Dixie Chicks. Taylor Swift is very pro-choice on the abortion rights issue. I mean, I can't fault her for that in particular. People have opinions on abortion that differ. I'm not even sure what my exact position on, Roe v. Wade is now. I worry that anti-abortion policies might be very unpopular and sink the Republicans. and they should worry about being restricting abortion too much. But yeah, Taylor Swift believes in so-called equal pay for equal work. Um, she's a cut and dry liberal, and she doesn't get along with Trump. I would say, yeah, if you want to know Taylor Swift's political views, use Grok and tell Grok to identify all of the political statements Taylor Swift made. The only one that it's going to omit is what she said about um, the Dixie Chicks. I mean, Taylor Swift didn't like the Bush administration either. Yes, so Taylor is what was a hard left advocate. I mean, I wonder if she still is now. They say as you get older, you get wiser. I wonder if there's anything that Taylor would say nice of the Republicans. Well, I found it interesting that when Taylor Swift was giving a commencement uh, speech for NYU, she said nothing about the Ukraine war. On that date in particular, I think Mariupol was being obliterated. Over 60,000 people lost their lives, but Taylor Swift felt the need to go to NYU and give a puff speech. Her speech contained nothing about condemning Putin's actions in Ukraine. To me, it seems I would really like society to pressure Taylor Swift into identifying her opinions about the Ukraine war. I think it was disgraceful for NYU to give Taylor Swift an honorary degree in history and accept a speech wherein Taylor refused to comment on the destruction of Mariupol by Putin. That now that's not a criticism you're going to see a lot of people levy against Taylor Swift, but I think that Taylor needs to be held accountable. I mean, if Taylor can make a documentary, saying that she didn't like the Iraq War, well, then she should be forced to explain her views on Ukraine. And, Taylor is an intelligent, person that should be able to, articulate what she thinks about Ukraine. She never did a benefit for Ukraine. She just gives charity to causes that are meant to increase her popularity. Yeah, I think she would have a difficult time commenting on the Ukraine war because it would force her to come out in favor of more military spending. Yeah, so I think Taylor Swift is someone who, you know, has political views that are not to my liking. They're. I think that you could look at the situation in Iraq now and come to the conclusion that um, the people who opposed the Iraq war were dead wrong. I mean, if you let people like, Taylor Swift and the Dixie Chicks pull troops out of Iraq, you would have had a huge disaster. So to me, I mean, it seems like, Taylor Swift's politics need to be put under a microscope because she has an enormous influence, and her views are inconsistent. And concerning the Trump administration, Donald Trump he fell down the stairs on Air Force One. Trump shows signs of mental health decline. Trump, is on his way out. I think he's very old. His tariff war should be declared illegal. It's clear to me that the power to pardon should absolutely be taken away from Donald Trump. It's disgraceful that he even suggested that he would pardon Puff Daddy. He should not be allowed to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. Um, to me, I think Republicans need a new hero. Trump isn't it. We need to Republicans need to dump Trump and get back to what they call the Rockefeller Republicans. And they're very unpopular within the Republican Party. The Republican primaries are dominated by evangelical Christian theocrats who want to have a theocracy. The Southern Baptist Convention down in Texas has a plan to ban sports betting, gambling, and uh, erotic material. I'm trying to keep this PG-13. I don't understand why everything needs to get banned. If the Southern Baptist Convention doesn't if they don't enjoy sports gambling, then I don't think they should do it. Um, there should be some regulations on sports gambling. It's obvious that it is highly addictive, and a lot of people are losing a lot of money gambling on sports. It's awfully difficult to predict who's going to win a Formula One race, or who, or if the Edmonton Oilers can come back and win the Stanley Cup. I do find it, sports betting is very controversial. It's advertised in Fenway Park. Fenway Park has a big DraftKings logo on their green monster. I don't know why sports teams believe it's safe to bet on sports on your cell phone. They say with these gambling apps, you get banned if you win. They don't want people using sophisticated strategies to make money on their apps. So, like if you're a gambler that places $1,000 bet on an event that's not likely to be true, and it comes true, they have to pay you like 250,000. When that happens, they ban you from the app. So, yeah, I definitely think that the government should regulate casinos more, but I don't think it's possible to you really ban sports betting effectively. And I don't understand why the Southern Baptist Christian Convention, wants to go into the field of regulating cell phone apps. But that's a complex issue in and of itself. I mean, I wonder what Donald Trump thinks of sports betting. um, he hasn't said anything about it. Well, I mean, Trump owned casinos, so I doubt that he is really going to ban what wagering on sports. I think that the Southern Baptist Christian Convention would have more opportunity, to ban the DraftKings app, like in Texas. Um, Texas has a very conservative legislator, and I fear for Texans who want to use DraftKings to bet on sports. I think that uh, they're going to have to gamble through organized crime. I lost money gambling on sports. It's extremely risky. And ultimately, there's no easy answers there. Where, if you were to ask me an issue on which I would side with the Southern Baptists, it's probably on medical marijuana. I don't believe that marijuana should be available to people. I think it's highly addictive, and it's only good for rotting people's teeth out. Trump hasn't really stated anything about medical marijuana because it's so popular. I mean, it's like at work, everybody smokes. You could smell it in the bathroom. I don't know where they get the money to, finance a $40 per pack, addiction. It doesn't seem to me like there's any benefit to cannabis. And the Republicans are just caught between a rock and a hard place on that issue. So, yes, thank you for joining me for this podcast. Have a wonderful night.